Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. We're kicking off Season 27 by finally coming back to Mannadium. I definitely intended to cover Mannadium a lot sooner than this, with the deck actually getting even more support in the last selection pack from Crimson Dragon, but, you know, with Snake Eye, you know, exploding in both, like, just onto the scene, and becoming instantly one of the top tier decks, plus other decks I wanted to cover from the selection pack, Mannadium kind of fell by the wayside a little bit mostly because, honestly, like, you know, there was only one new card coming into the deck here, and that is just going to be the Crimson Dragon. However, even though it's only one new card, that doesn't mean that it is a minor addition to the deck, as yet again, the addition of this card has once again changed Mannadium's combo lines a little bit. Not too drastic. Well, in some cases, they actually have changed pretty drastically, particularly the single Riumheart opening line. I am going to go over that one card combo line to give you an idea of how Crimson Dragon plays in the deck here. But before I do that, of course, we're going to start by talking a little bit about the build here. To be honest, the build really hasn't changed all that much, especially as far as the main deck goes. It is more or less the same. I am starting to, like, be kind of meh on Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is one of those cards where I'm, like, kind of going back and forth on it in all my builds, right? There's definitely pros and cons to having it, right? The biggest con, of course, being it's not very good against Snake Eye. And a lot of people really focus on that. It's a pretty common fallacy for people to fall into. I think I've even gotten comments to this effect of, like, why are you still playing Droll when it doesn't hurt Snake Eye? And it's like, well, okay, because decks besides Snake Eye exist. It's like, duh. But that is a large fixation that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community as a whole tends to have, right? If your tech doesn't beat exactly the best deck, why are you even playing it? Well, of course, because there are other decks that lose to Droll, like the Mirror, and Super Heavy Samurai. And, you know, even against, like, Snake Eye, for example, right? Like, yeah, they might still be able to do their combo under Droll, but you do still get to stop, if nothing else, like Popular Search, making it, like, a more situational Ash Blossom at the absolute worst, which is still, like, not the most terrible thing you could be doing. That said, like I said before, I am kind of suspect on keeping Droll in a deck like Mannadium in particular, mostly because Mannadium doesn't really play through Droll very well itself. I think nowadays a lot of the decks that probably want to keep playing Droll and Lockbird are ones that can use it aggressively against an opponent's Maxx. As in, you know, they Maxx you, you might give them a couple of draws to get like the 1 or 2 searches you need, and then after that you Droll them and continue your turn 1. Mannadium can't do that. Mannadium has a bit of a time playing through the Droll and Lockbird. So I think Droll is right for some decks. I don't necessarily think that Mannadium is one of them. To be fair as well, I put this build together like right when the selection pack first came out, when, you know, main decking Droll was on people's minds a lot more, and I just didn't bother to update it in that time. I think moving forward, I might try taking out the Drolls for like more Imperms or a Veiler, maybe even a second Nibiru. Nibiru is a lot better in this format than a lot of people give it credit for. A lot of people, again, are like, but it's bad against Snake Eye. They'll just use Flamberge's effect. And it's like, well, that's why we time our disruption and don't just shotgun it right away, you know? It's like, but yeah, like, Nibiru is definitely very good in this format. It might take a little bit of timing, but it is very good. Another card that I think would be very good in this format and in this deck is Forbidden Droplet. Board breakers, I think, are at a bit of a premium right now, and in that respect, I do think that Droplet ends up being one of the better ones, especially for a deck like Mannadium, which has one-card combo lines and thus can give up quite a few resources to the Droplet to break the opponent's board. Forbidden Droplet, of course, also being one of the best board breakers in particular Master Duel ranked ladder for best of one, because you don't, if you're going to play board breakers, you don't want to be playing board breakers that are situational, that can only be used going second, like evenly, like Dark Brewer, like Kaiju's, like nah. Unless your deck is built to go second, I generally advise playing against those cards. Troll Tactics Talent is a great best of one board breaker though. It's got a lot of utility, both going first and second. Droplet, like I mentioned, for decks that have the spare resources is great, which this deck is definitely one of them. But let's talk a little bit about Mannadium in particular. Like I said, the only new addition to this deck is the Crimson Dragon, which, like I said, does add a new combo line that I'll show. Well, it adds a couple new combo lines, but I'll show you the one-card combo line with Riumheart. We also will have a game, at least one that I can remember off the top of my head, where we will see Crimson Dragon kind of in action. But it might seem a bit weird to play Crimson Dragon because you're probably thinking, well, you're not cheating out anything you wouldn't already play, right? Like, you already summoned a Dis Pater before, and that's really the only dragon synchro, aside from, like, you know, Accel synchro, that we have going on here, so why bother with the Crimson Dragon? Well, the Crimson Dragon does open up a lot of combo lines, and it might seem a bit difficult to go into, being at 12 stars, but it's completely generic material requirements, and level 12 Synchro is actually not hard at all to make in this deck. The vast majority of the time, we're just going to use a Meek that has increased its own level by its own effect, in conjunction with a level 8 Vicious Astraloud. So level 4 Tuner Meek, level 8 non-tuner Astraloud, boom, there's your Crimson Dragon, target your Baronne de Fleur, and then all of a sudden you've got a Dis Pater out without having to go into the Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon. So you might be thinking, okay, well then why are we still playing Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon? It's true that you don't need to play this card now that we have the Crimson Dragon, but I do think it is still pretty good because it's not like every single combo line you're always going to be feasible to go into the Crimson Dragon. Sometimes you do need to kind of do things a little bit old school and just go for the Accel Synchro and, you know, make your Baronne / Dis Pater that way. Well, really your Pater, because that's what Crimson Dragon would bring out. But also, I like that Accel Synchro does give you some more plays under Droll that you might not normally have. Being able to climb up to a level 10 Synchro with this under Droll, I think is definitely worth noting. And on top of that, I think it's just a good card overall. Because again, like I said, the combo lines that use Crimson Dragon really kind of assume you don't get disrupted for the most part. A lot of the times if you get disrupted, you will have to pivot into a different line, and the versatility that the Accel Synchro Stardust offers with that is definitely noteworthy. I will say that I think this extra deck could definitely use an access code talker, like Nightmare Unicorn and access code talker in particular. I found myself wanting them at least one of the games, and I think we'll even show that game. I think there was a game I could have even won. Did I keep that game? I'm trying to remember. I can think of at least one game off the top of my head that I could have won if I'd been playing Access Code Talker. So, despite me talking up Accel Synchro Stardust, I might actually end up taking it out because it's not 100% necessary anymore. And there might be better, you know, there might be better cards to play in some of those spots there. I think really what it was, if I'm remembering right, is I wanted the Nightmare Unicorn just to have something else to go into with the IP besides the Apollusa. I think we could do Underworld Goddess by that same token as well. Might even be worth it because then, like, you don't have to discard or something. I don't know. That'll be definitely future speculation here. But, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that new one-card combo line with Riumheart that utilizes the Crimson Dragon here. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we are going to start off by showing off the one-card combo line with Mannadium Riumheart, just to kind of give you an idea of how Crimson Dragon plays into the deck, and again, some of the newer combo lines here. So I'm going to start by using the Rhoda here to go ahead and grab the Mannadium Riumheart, and we'll just add that to our hand. Beautiful. Okay, now let's start by normal summoning Mannadium Riumheart, right? And then we're going to activate the effect, and we're going to want to add the Mannadium Meek from deck to hand. You do need to have the other two copies of Meek in deck, so if you already opened a Meek alongside your Riumheart, actually you can do other combo lines, but you could add something like Reframing or Imaginings instead as well. Alright, now we're going to special summon the Mannadium Meek over to our field, and then with these two we get to synchro summon for our Mannadium Trisukta. Once Trisukta is synchro summoned, we will of course be using her effect to bring back a level 2 tuner from our graveyard, which naturally is going to end up being the Mannadium Meek. Throw that right over here. And now we can sync these two for our level 8 Visas Amritara. So far, things are pretty similar, but this is where things are going to diverge from the previous one-card combo line. As last time we added Amritara with we added Calarium rather with the Amritara. This time I'm going to add Mannadium Abscission. I know I already opened a copy, but for the sake of example and showing the combo line, I want to show you that you do want to be adding exactly Mannadium Abscission here, but we're not going to want to use it just yet. First, we're going to link off the Visas Amritara in order to summon our Scareclaw Light-Heart. Now we can activate the Scareclaw Light-Heart effect in order to add the primitive planet Reichphobia from deck to hand, which we will then subsequently activate in order to add Scareclaw, Reichheart from our deck to our hand. We can now special summon the Reichheart in the zone adjacent to Light-Heart and activate the effect in order to add us the Scareclaw Arrival from deck to hand. Beautiful. Now that we've done that, we're going to activate our Mannadium Abscission, and I'm going to destroy the Scareclaw Light-Heart in order to add the Peaceful Planet Calarium from our deck to our hand. Now I'm going to activate Calarium over the Reichphobia, and we'll use the effect in order to add the Visas Starfrost from our deck to our hand. Alright, so now from this point, after we've added that, we're going to want to use the Abscission effect. You don't want to summon Visas by his own effect. Well, we can also because Reichheart is a warrior, but we're going to want to summon it via the graveyard effect of the Mannadium Abscission. That'll just plop it right onto the field without having to pop a monster first. Alright, now we get to Synchro summon for our Baronne de Fleur. We are going to summon Light-Heart out of the graveyard, so you could do that first while Visas is on the field. But Visas is about to be on the field here again in a moment anyway. And also on top of that, you know, we don't want to necessarily open ourselves up to a disruption unnecessarily, right? I said necessarily twice there, but long story short, by keeping the Baron on the field here, we get to actually get a little bit of protection a little bit earlier. So now we're going to use our Scareclaw Arrival and bring back Visas Starfrost. Can throw it in this zone over here, and that will allow us to bring back the Scareclaw Light-Heart here, right? Now, we're also going to actually link summon our Light-Heart away for another copy of Light-Heart. This might not look like it makes a lot of sense, but what we get to do here is we get to add a copy of the Primitive Planet Reichphobia for a little bit of follow-up here, right, for the next turn. We're not going to be activating this turn, but again, for the follow-up turn there, it'll be very nice to have there. Alright, now we're going to use Cross Sheep. We're going to summon Cross Sheep, rather, using Scareclaw Light-Heart and the Visas Starfrost. We'll put it in the zone so that it's pointing to the Baronne de Fleur. That way, when we summon Vicious Astraloud to the other zone, we'll get the attack increase as well. So we're going to summon Astraloud next, banishing exactly Riumheart and Visas. Let's put that right over here. Alright, and this will activate the Cross Sheep effect. We're not going to use the Astraloud effect here. We're going to use Cross Sheep in order to bring back our Mannadium Meek. And as you can see, again, because we pointed to the Baronne as well, the Baronne is now getting an attack buff on top of that, as well as everything else, but we're going to use all these other monsters as materials here in a little bit anyway. So, now I'm going to activate my Baronne's effect to destroy a card. Kind of weird to be doing that on turn 1, but we do want to do it on the Mannadium Meek. This will proc both the effect of Mannadium Meek as well as the effect of the Peaceful Planet's Calarium on our field. So now we get to bring back the Meek that we destroyed, and then we also get to bring another Meek out from the deck as well. Actually, I said earlier that we needed both Meeks in the deck. I think I'm misremembering or thinking of a different combo line, because I don't think we actually need the third one here. But we definitely want to change the level of the Meek we summoned from the deck. We absolutely bumped that from 2 to 4. And the reason that we're going to want to do that is because we are going to Synchro summon our Crimson Dragon, utilizing the Mannadium Meek as well as the Vicious Astraloud here, right? So, gonna throw the Crimson Dragon right over there, and then we get to use the Crimson Dragon effect, targeting the Baronne de Fleur. That will indeed allow us to special summon the Bystial Dis Pater from our deck. Let's see, where am I gonna put it? I think I'm gonna put it over here. It doesn't super matter, but I am gonna summon Spright Elf, so zone placement does end up mattering, like, very slightly here. So, speaking of Spright Elf, let's go ahead and just summon that next. We'll use Mannadium Meek and a Cross Sheep in order to do so. Okay, now we get to activate a couple of effects to summon. We get to use the Bystial Dis Pater to bring back our Visas Starfrost. And then we also get to use Spright Elf in order to bring back Mannadium Meek. And finally, we're just going to make the IP Masquerena with those two monsters we just summoned. And there you have it. There is our one-card combo that sets up the full board of Elf, pointing to Baronne and Masquerena, as well as the Dis Pater. Not only did this card only take, or this combo rather, not only did it take only one card from our hand, but on top of that, we even got to replace that one card with a Primitive Planet Reichphobia, which we then also get to use for follow-up turns, which is super cool. that this combo line, again, not only with one card gets you a full board, but again, also replaces that one card for future plays as well. As you can see, like with this hand in particular, I've got the full board in addition to Droll, Knockbird, Ash Blossom, and Mannadium Reframing for even more disruption. Should be more than enough to play through whatever most opponents will bring at you there. So, alright, now that we have established the kind of combo line here, now that I've shown that off, let us take a look at some games with the deck here. Okay, so our first duel here is going to be against Gold Pride Punk. Been a hot minute since I've seen this deck. I didn't play it all last season either. I really wanted to, but so many decks to play, so little time. But, yeah, we can take the first turn here, and this hand is looking pretty good. We got the Rim as well as the Calarium, but you'll notice I'm leading with the Calarium that is going to get hit with the Ash Blossom. So the reason that I activated Peaceful Planet Calarium first before I normal summon Mannadium Riumheart is that I wanted to potentially add a Visas Starfrost from my deck to my hand. And I'm thinking about Droll and Lockbird, right? So, in particular, if I'm thinking about, if I'm going to get hit with Droll and Lockbird, and I only get one search, what card would I most want to search? And I think the answer is Visas here, although now that I'm looking at my hand, the main reason I went for Visas is because I opened Scareclaw Arrival, and I already had Reichheart and Riumheart. But now that I'm actually thinking about it now and talking about it out loud, I think Riumheart for Meek would have probably still been better, because I don't actually have a card I can pop with. Yeah, that's the thing about Visas here, right? I would have to normal summon Reichheart, link into Light-Heart, and then pop that in order to summon Visas. So I think in hindsight, I probably should have just normaled Rim and added Meek. I think that would have led to more plays, but here they didn't have Droll, they had Ash Blossom, so in that case, I think I would actually rather have the Calarium get hit with the Ash Blossom. I then get to triple attack them in response. Looking at their hand, I see Zamin, Wagon, and Charkusai for Punk Tuners, as well as the continuous spell, Gold Pride, better luck next time. Obviously telling me exactly what my opponent is on. Definitely going to want to rip the Zamin here, as it has the most amount of plays it can make, just in general, but especially by itself. And with the board I'm going to be able to set up with this setup here, I think, very easily play through everything else my opponent's got in hand here. So we're going to put back the Zamin, and start now by normal summoning Rim, adding the Mannadium Meek. And then from here, this is kind of more or less going to be very similar to the one-card combo line I showed off, except that, of course, we already have the Calarium on the field right now, right? Alright, so we're going to summon the Amritara, and then activate Amritara in order to get... I get Reframing here, because, again, we already have Calarium in play. Although, you know what, I think that was a misplay. It wasn't like a huge misplay, but I think it was less a misplay and more of like, because that's the thing, right? We have to play Reichphobia over the Calarium. And so I think it kind of came down to, did I want extra material or the Reframing more? Oh, but that's why I got the Reframing, because I already had Scareclaw Arrival, so I did already have an extra material. Okay. It's always weird coming back to the replay, right? Because you're not always in the same frame of mind as when you were actually playing during the duel, which can be both a good and a bad thing. It can be a good thing because it can give you some clarity or insight that you might have been a little bit too tense or focused in-game to notice, but it's also kind of hard sometimes to put yourself back into the mindset of where you were during that game, right? Yeah, because here I'm going to bring back the Meek, and normally if I had Calarium in play, I would get another Meek, and that would allow me to go into my full end board here, but because I have Reichphobia, I don't get the extra body, but because I have a Scareclaw Arrival, that actually doesn't matter, which I think is why I ultimately end up adding the Mannadium Reframing here, instead of Mannadium Abscission off of the Amritara, but... Alright, so this is making the Elf, and then, yeah, we're just pretty much going to do the same thing here. Elf is going to bring back the Meek, and then Arrival is just going to bring back a random, yeah, sure, Visas. And then now we get to link these off for IP Masquerena. So again, like I said, literally the same combo line that I showed off before, just done slightly differently because I had the Scareclaw Arrival in hand. But Getting to set the counter trap with your board is huge. Counter traps being spell speed 3 are often just the end of their respective chain link there. Opponent's going to start by activating the Deer Note. That does give me information of what the last card in their hand is. I'm going to immediately start by activating IP and then Elf in that order. Because chains resolve backwards, Elf puts the extra body on the board, then IP links it off in order to summon out the Apollusa here. This is pretty important. It's the difference between a 2 and a 3 mat Apollusa, so definitely want to make sure that you're activating the effects in that order. Here, I'm definitely fine to use the Baronne on the Gold Pride card, because I know all my opponent's cards are monster effects, so Apo can negate them. I also have the Reframing if I really need it for an Omni negate, and yeah, I think we just should be good there. So here my opponent does get to chain block the Jam Dragon Drive with the Deer Note. I am still going to negate the Deer Note with the Apollusa, especially now that they have a monster in play that's stronger than Apo. I want to make sure I'm getting into Apo's negates before it gets battled over, which it will here. Well, after they add this, I mean, but that is fine. It's not that big of a deal here because they've already used their normal summon. They're not actually able to make further plays. So even though they did get to add a Xayamine, it doesn't really matter because, you know, they can't normal summon it. And they're not going to get a follow-up turn because of what's on my field. It might seem like, well, yeah, I mean, you get to stop their plays, but now you don't have like a guaranteed way to finish them off because you don't have any cards in hand to combo with. You don't have 8,000 points of damage on the board. But what I can do is I can just use my Bystial Dis Pater to summon back my banished Riumheart and start my combos that way. And even if I wasn't able to do that, I could still summon Vicious Astraloud, my second copy, and then pop the opponent's monster, and then get an attack boosted and just battle in that way, right? So multiple avenues to the same victory there. Good stuff. All right, let's take a look at our next duel. Okay, so our next game is going to be against Stun, everyone's favorite deck. I feel like I've been running into more Stun than usual this season, which is kind of funny because Stun is like at its worst this season, but we're going to be going second here. No hand traps or anything of the sort here. So, opponent's going to start with an Nadir Servant, sending the Garura in order to add the Ecclesia. They, of course, get to draw off of the Garura as well. Normal summoning Ecclesia, and then adding the Dogmatica Punishment as a result. They get to Time Turning Morganite here before setting 3 cards and passing over to us. So, oh boy, this will be fun. We do, again, know they have the Dogmatica Punishment, so we'll start by trying to play through that here. I'm going to normal summon Rim and add an Imaginings here. I'm going to use Imaginings effect to actually reveal Rim and then put back the extra Calarium here. Calarium is definitely the card that I want to put back here. Everything else in hand does have the potential to be important. Even the second Riumheart might not seem like it has a use here, but what the second Riumheart can potentially do is help us dodge that Dogmatica Punishment there. Like, for example, if my opponent decided to flip Dogmatica Punishment here against the Rim, which I think they actually do if I recall correctly, then I can use Riumheart in order to pop that same Riumheart for the extra, to get the extra body on board and still have it in play there, right? So, I'm going to special summon Mannadium Meek and then activate the Visas in my hand to try to pop it. Opponent's going to chain Dogmatica Punishment on the Mannadium Meek. This is fine with me. They're going to summon or send the Entis here. I still get to summon both off of Meek's own effect as well as the field spell here, because Meek does not care how it's destroyed. It can even be by battle. As long as it's destroyed by battle or card effect, yours or your opponent's, then you still get to summon it out even if it was by Dogmatica Punishment. Now, the opponent did use Dogmatica Punishment to send the Elder Entity Entis from the extract to the graveyard, which of course does give them another targeted destruction, which we're going to try to use on the Riumheart here, but this is where second Riumheart comes into play. As I touched upon earlier, we get to use this to keep our body on the board. The reason that this works is because Elder Entity Entis says target a card on the field, destroy it, which means that when the effect resolves, you have to destroy the card you targeted, which is exactly this copy of Riumheart. Not the one I'm summoning from hand, but the one that's currently on the field. So even though I'm replacing Riumheart with a Riumheart here, it's still not going to get destroyed because it's not the one that was targeted. And then my opponent's going to concede to this. I guess their other 2 back rows weren't anything worth noting anyway. Probably Mirror Forces. I noticed my opponent's list was playing a lot of Mirror Forces. I guess they just did not end up drawing one of those one-of Floodgates that they play. But, yeah, I mean, it probably was a couple of Mirror Forces, honestly, if that's the case. Because, I don't know, it seems just kind of weird that they would concede with 2 back rows face down unless they didn't think they were going to do anything. But to be fair, if I'm my opponent here, I think I said that correctly the first time, I would still wait for the other person to go to battle phase, because you never know. A lot of people will just ignore back rows if they don't get flipped. Which, of course, Mirror Force only flips on a monster battles. So, who knows? There are worlds where I might have walked into a Mirror Force. I think there are a lot of players who would have walked into a Mirror Force. So, you know, I think that was a bit of an early concede for my opponents. Like, give them the opportunity to misplay, you know? I'd like to think I wouldn't have here. And I guess, to be fair, even if I make Baron, I can pop the one back row, negate the other. So if they're both Mirror Forces, they don't end up panning out in that situation. But, again, you know, make your opponent summon the Baron. Don't just assume they're going to do it. But, let's see. Looking at my time here. Because we had that combo line at the beginning, I think I'm going to show off one more game. Let's see that. Alright, our final opponent is going to be on Kashtira. I noticed they were remaining, like, a raw sphere mode and 2 lava golems and 1 random evenly matched. It's like I've discussed before, you know? Even earlier in this deck profile, right? If you're gonna play board breaker cards, don't play ones that are only good going second. Maybe my opponent is on an exactly going second build, I don't know, but it didn't seem like it based on their build here. But anyway. Alright, so here I am going for the... How did I open? This isn't the 1-card combo line, isn't it? Is it? Because I just added the... No, we opened Calarium and Abscission here. That's right. So that's where we added the reframing there. Alright, going for the Visas Amritara. Going to activate Amritara's effect for Perlerieno. Oh, that's right, because I added Perlerieno here because I wanted to work in a Visas Starfrost into the combo line. Although, this was a combo line that I think I might have been able to play differently. I've noticed that a lot of Mannadium builds are not on Perlerieno at all anymore. Last I knew, you needed Perlerieno in case you opened Calarium and nothing else, because that's part of that 1-card combo line. I don't think that's changed since Crimson Dragon got banned. Maybe, or got released rather, not banned. Maybe it has and I'm not aware, but I'm still playing Perlerieno for the possibility of opening that combo line, but I don't think you necessarily have to. And I'm not claiming at all to be an expert on this deck, so who knows. Anyway, I did decide to go for Chaos Angel here, because I could make it with a light and a dark. Chaos Angels, I consider it a flex spot in the extra deck. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. Oh, they did have an Imperm here, that's right. That's right, because I was confused. My opponent was getting past priority all through my turn, which I think is part of why I played it a little bit weirdly, because all throughout this turn up to that point, I was expecting them to have, like, something. Like, I even thought it was an Imperm. I just am surprised it didn't come down until against the Cross Sheep. I think that's a bit of an odd choke point there, but... Yeah, so this board state's not going to have an IP on it, but it will have Baron and Cross Angel and Elf. And because the Cross Angel is made with both a light and a dark, and we have the Elf here, that means that both Chaos Angel and Baron can't be destroyed by battle, are unaffected by my opponent's monster effects, and also cannot be targeted by card effects, which is all very, very good. And we also have the Mannadium Reframing on top of that. To be fair, if my opponent had drawn their Sphere Mode or Lava Golem, it actually would have been pretty good here, but this also kind of demonstrates why I'm not a fan of stuff like Lava Golem and Sphere Mode in decks that aren't, you know, made for going second, specifically like Makonko or something, is because, like, you know, yeah, you could, you know, rip it here and be set. Allegedly, you could be set by tributing off, like, Chaos Angel and Baron. Let's even assume it's the one of Sphere Mode and they get my Elf too, right? I still have Disruption. I still have Droll and Ash Blossom to stop their plays. I still have follow-ups. You know, it's not a guaranteed victory. And I think ultimately what you're doing is hurting the consistency of your deck to play these cards that are, like, fine, but not necessarily going to guarantee you win. Like, if I'm going to play a card that's only good going second and not when I go first in a best-of-1 format, that card better win me the duel, which honestly no board breaker will inherently. So it's like, I just don't think it's worth it. Now here my opponent is going to get to cross out the Ash Blossom, but thankfully I do also have the Droll here. So even though Ash got negated, I still get to Droll, and now this Kashtira Fenrir can't add a monster. Of course they just had the Theosis anyway, so... But that's actually honestly going to be fine because it's like, again, I still have the Baronne and the counter trap here. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to negate and destroy the Kashtira Fenrir here. This does activate the Unicorn, but they can, yeah, banish Light-Heart. I don't care. It's like, I've already established my board by this point. And really, you might kind of think like, well, why didn't my opponent do more there? But again, between not only being under Droll and not being able to target or destroy in battle or affect with monsters, period, either Chaos Angel or Baronne, it's like there's really not that much they can do, honestly. Gonna use Baronne on the face down here. It's preparations. I don't need to negate this with the counter trap because they don't have anything to summon, so that's fine. They get to banish another monster. Again, they can take whatever. Dis Pater, it's fine, I don't care. Because now I get to just use triple attacks to take their Kashtira Unicorn and end the game right here. But of course, even without the triple attacks, I have both Reichheart and Visas in hand with a Mannadium Meek on the field. That is, of course, going to be enough to find lethal there. I even get to cheekily use the Kashtira Unicorn against them that they had tried to use against me as well. So that was kind of funny there at the end. But yeah, that's going to ultimately go ahead and do it for that duel and these duels in general. Hope you all enjoyed them. Hope you all got some useful info out of this video. But that's going to go ahead and do it. So as always, as ever, I want to thank you all so very much for watching. Let us move on to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.